So it's Friday. I've just finished my last 2-hour session with Peter Mulholland, and I feel really blessed. I really felt quite teary because it's like there's something so profound about blood actually moving through your body.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like a drug-like state, you know. Like it really is, isn't it? Like it's really, you know.
You get high.
Yeah, I feel really.
Naturally.
I feel really high from it, and today we did some stronger stuff for my legs, which I'm really excited about. And I mean, I've got these little stick figures. I've got almost like I could almost see 7 or 8 practices here, you know, for every day and for morning and night, and I'm just feeling it's so profound, and just your way, you know, what you've done, and also you've had your own injuries through martial arts in the beginning, surfing, your own yoga stuff, like your own kinds of things, and you yourself found yourself going hard and really having to surrender, like me, to something like this.
Yeah.
Were you kicking and screaming?
A little, but you know, I gave in pretty quick. My teacher taught me pretty quick. I just knew a trust. I just trusted and just went with what he said and just went, I'm just going to do what he said. And it took a while to reduce the other stuff, but then you sort of go, all right, is that what he was talking about? That was it. And then you know which way to go. So it was a little bit, and then you can move in different directions you need to go in.
So you went and saw a knee specialist at some point, and they said, yeah, I'll come back in a year, and so ever since you started practicing like this, and you did it for, you know, quite some time, you found that you now don't need knee surgery.
No, that was like 20, how many years ago? Probably 25 years ago. Yeah, my meniscus was torn. I had big tears in the meniscus, and the ligaments on my knee were so wobbly, my knee used to dislocate if I'd squat. And it's pretty hard when you're surfing because it'd lock up sometimes, and I have to sort of undislocate it. Yeah, so I saw Merv Cross. He was the top sort of orthopaedic surgeon in Sydney, and he saw it and said, "Oh, we'll just operate." And then I sort of explained to him, you know, can you heal it? And he was just laughing and said, "Oh, another one of these fucking guys, you know, you're all right, we'll see you in 12 months." And then I talked to Chandra about it, and Chandra said, "Do it, no pain." So I eventually learnt to do it with no pain, and I had to reduce like 90% of my movement, you know, where I could actually go from doing full, like, you know, doing full Padmasana with a leg to having to get my leg to like this, you know, going from full squats to going, I can only go to there. But eventually things grew, you know, and now I can fully squat, no problems, and Padmasana and all those things, but I had to reduce to grow again in a different direction. It's probably the easiest way I can describe it. Different muscle fibres work, different nerves, and that basically. So I went backwards 90%, but then grew in a different direction, and that's what healed it.
That's exciting. So how many years did you do that for?
Oh, it took a couple. I reckon 2 years to 5 years it sort of took. The first 2 years were the sort of hardest, because it took a long while to get that, and then after that it was good, but I also knew it's like probably 80-90% good. It's not, because sometimes I'm going back again, bang, and I'd go, So then I'd go, right, let's reduce again, come back, and then it took about, I don't know, it's hard because I can't really remember the time frame, but I reckon within 5 years it was fully functional, fully 100%.
How amazing. And I love what you were sharing. Peter was really sharing a really interesting concept around how ligaments actually can heal themselves as well, like you were saying.
How they can retighten.
Yeah, can you go into that for me?
Well, usually they overstretch.
Yeah.
So with age they soften and they overstretch. So the joint structure of the body becomes too floppy. So that creates the osteo problems, arthritis, rheumatoid in the joints, you know, weakness in the joints, osteoarthritis or whatever. And a little bit of work, and that is, it's like to re-strengthen the ligaments. So the muscles will sort of do that, the tendons, they'll allow the ligaments to get to almost, well, instead of being overstretched, to re-grip, to shrink a little, to sort of tone instead of overstretch. And that brings them back in, because a lot of that comes, especially hyperextension, So I sort of learned a lot off that by listening to what Shanda was talking about of work with dancers and gymnasts and stuff who when they get to 30, 40, 50 years old, they're a mess. You know, their bodies have just had it. And it was like, ooh, learn off that. Don't make that same mistake as they did. And that was from hyperextension. So it's a little bit, don't do that. And it taught me not to the good thing was not to hyperextend, but to actually go the other way. And that created that sort of contraction where different people sort of recommended me do weights and lift. The weight will do it. So I tried things like that and I go, this isn't working. It's not working. So I did it without weights. And I go, that's just make your natural body do it. It was easier to control the movement. The weights were sometimes, it tensed the muscles on the outside, but it didn't fix the ligaments. So it's sort of like a Band-Aid. It sort of fixes it, but not properly. It's sort of just on the surface. This was more permanent. I tried the other ways and went, yeah, this is all right, but it's not. This isn't going to stay long term. It still came undone too quickly. So this stuff took longer, but it healed quicker.
What I found interesting before is that we're talking about, you know, the importance of diet, and I love what you're saying about saliva.
Yeah. Another one I was taught by Shandor. If you look at food and you create saliva in your mouth, then your body's saying that food's good for you. And if you look at food and you go, that doesn't create saliva, then you shouldn't eat that food. And if you do that, the food you eat are nutritious and your body wants to eat those foods and it absorbs them well. And if you eat the others, well, they say, you know, they're sort of poisonous to you in a certain degree, especially long term.
Mm-hmm. So everyone knows I'm like a modality slut and I love a massage and all that. It's got lots of being a single woman as well, you know, going and having touch or whatever.
Yeah, that's good.
But you'd find, let's say all these years working with, you know, your students from base to getting them, do you notice that a lot of them don't need a lot of outside help, that they become their own practitioner at all times?
I reckon in nearly every class I teach, if not majority of classes I teach, I've got an osteopath, a chiropractor, doctors, surgeons, all sorts of specialists, physios, all sorts of specialists in my classes. I've got one of the best osteopaths on the coast, Wally Johnson. He comes here more than me. He's often here twice a day because he had an injury, had a brain injury years ago and it created problems, and he comes here once or twice a day, and his yoga is really, really good considering the damage it caused to his neurological system. So when I talk, I have to be speaking the truth to those people, otherwise it'll pull you to pieces. They're medical people, they're trained, so they know what I'm teaching comes off a lot of research and a lot of practice, and even though they've got it theoretically in their head, they haven't got it in their body, so they love it because they understand the theory, but they haven't got the practice. So they love the practice. So I get scrutinised a lot, and I go, I better know what I'm talking about. These people will pull you to pieces, and they like what I talk about and the realism and the whole thing. And that taught me a lot too. And probably a lot of the big call I get off a lot of students is, I used to go to the chiropractor once a month. I don't go anymore at all. You know, I used to have to go and get my back cracked. I used to have to go and get this. I have to go and get massaged all the time. I don't even go anymore. I don't. So it's almost like I save money because I don't need to go and do that stuff anymore. I'm doing it to myself.
Yes.
Iyengar talked on that stuff. They talked on massage, and he said you shouldn't get massage if you do yoga because they can counteract each other, because the massage can loosen off where you're trying to tone up something. You can understand that you can get a good massage, and then some massages you can finish and you go, God, I feel flagged because it loosened off a little bit too much where you're toned. And I've experienced that over the years too. I've had massage, and it's like afterwards I'm like this. And I read a thing by Guruji. It's like, don't massage yourself with practice. So I do that with myself. And I grew up getting manipulated twice a week. I mean, once a fortnight. There was a man my mother and father used to see, who was he self-taught himself that he was a cyclist and he coached cyclists. And Uncle Harry, he had polio, but he was fantastic. He knew how to manipulate, and he knew how to get stuff. And my mum and dad suffered from bad backs, and I had scoliosis as a teenager, so I'd see him once a fortnight. He'd come and crack the back, but it kept coming out again. So I'm used to manipulations, and after doing yoga, I don't have to get manipulated. Don't have to go through that type of stuff.
It's profound. Do you ever think about having a vlog or writing a book or anything that you could be a more global? I mean, considering, truthfully, I would see you as obviously being, you know, up with some of the best yoga teachers in the world, and I love the fact that you've decided to have the country life, you know, on the Central Coast and all that. To me, that's actually living, breathing your truth, you know, because you've actually decided this is enough, and I love it, you know, and to me that's why you're such an amazing teacher.
Yeah.
But do you think like that? You'd write a book or?
There's a couple of things. One, you know, I just when I had children, I just went, I want to spend my life with my children, and I'm going to start work when the children were older. So now my oldest son's just sort of at the stage where he's sort of coming and leaving home. He's 21 now, so probably in the next lot of years, once he's left home and set up his life, then I'll probably start to work. But up until then, I've wanted to spend a lot of time with my kids, and I'm a surfer, so I want to surf every day and have time to practice. So I have things. I have to have family time, surf time, yoga time, and if I've got those, and I watched my teacher travel the world for the last 25 years, teaching all around the world, and develop his yoga practice at the same time, which was, I don't even know how he did that, and change and become his yoga development went through the roof. It's still developing. But the price he paid for it, to do that, and the toil it took on him, because travel's so hard on your body. It's just hard on the body, you know. He'd say, I'm staying in a place and we're in a hotel room for a month while I'm teaching, and you're not grounded. So I was a little bit like, I travelled a lot. I've travelled for years when I was younger. I think I travelled for 8 years when I was younger, and it's like, I've already done that. And it's like, oh, if I'm going to travel for work, man, they're going to have to pay me a lot of money because it's going to wear and tear me. I'd rather just stay here. I've already got everything I want.
Darling, webcam, that's all you've got to do. Is
mate, you know, with all this modern technology nowadays, I can see it's accessible. And I dare say I will do it one day, but it's very time consuming, and I'm a little bit like, we're gearing ourselves towards that stuff, you know, I am.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit like, if you're going to do something, do it properly. And I was always taught that. Shandor told me, he said, if you want to get to this stuff and go and teach internationally, he said, wait till you know what you're really doing. Don't go too early. If you go prematurely, he told me, he said he watched people go prematurely. They collapsed, they fell down, the whole thing fell apart for him. So I listened to his wisdom and I listened to his experience. And I thought, yeah, I'm into that. So the idea of travelling and teaching isn't a bad thing. I've done it a couple of times and I sort of liked it. But I also like what I do. I go, I've already got what everyone else wants. I go, well, I'm going to give this up to go and take on stress.
I know.
And there's a hard part with teaching. I've watched people that do that.
Yeah.
I like the intimacy of long-term relationship with my students. Some have been with me for 25 years.
Oh.
And if you're teaching people that are new, you can understand this. It takes a while to understand the person and get a connection to what really needs to be done. So if you're going somewhere teaching for 2 weeks and taking off, it can create a discourse and a disconnection.
I agree.
So I like that solid connection. So maybe nowadays with modern technology, you've got webcams and all sorts of stuff. I'm not unfavourable to that, because I go, that's probably not a bad way of having a relationship with students that's still intimate, and it's where you can discourse with the teacher and you can have an intimacy with the teacher, which to me is very, very important, you know, to be able to, the teacher knows you, they know your weak points, they're honest, they just go bang. That's what he's got with me. He just tells me stuff and I go, you can see through me like a sheet of glass, mate. You know me probably as better than I do, and you know what I need to improve. And that's a nice thing to have. It's just an honesty.
Yeah,
which is hard because it takes a while to get to know that. You can see we've developed that in the last 5 days.
Yeah, we
have. It took a while, and it's all of a sudden, each time it just gets better and better.
Yeah, the energy starts to flow. I suppose just to finish with, it's just that the way I'm feeling is that, as you and I both agree, the only yoga teacher that can say they're a yoga teacher is someone that's done an apprenticeship for 3 years. Then we have a look at who their teacher was anyway, who they did their apprenticeship with. The world is full of thousands and thousands of people who are saying they're yoga teachers. And there's just a part of me that looks at you and goes, God, you know, I want you to step up and, you know, bring your wisdom and your knowledge to the world. And that's what I'd love to see.
And one day.
Yeah,
thanks.
And how do people have a look at Shandor? Like, does he have a website or
Shadow Yoga?
Shadow Yoga.
Yeah, you know what it is. I still do it. I love going and being taught by him, because it's anyone that's ever done yoga with Shandor, it's an experience. It was being taught like Iyengar. He teaches very much. It's unique. They have a skill of communication, psychology, and understanding of the body that is so in depth. What they say is quite profound, and to experience his classes, it's not sexual, but it's very similar. It's almost you come out and you go, bloody hell, what happened there?
So a bit of
he can take us through the ringer.
Bit of a kundalini rising.
And a little bit of like, and a cleansing. And he's, you know what it is? He's soft now compared, when I first met him, you know, say 30 years ago, he was like
on fire.
A tiger. He was like, throw people out of classes. He was just, it was full on. But I love that energy. And it was just raw and it was full on. And he has tempered over the years.
Yeah.
But the fire's still there. And I have that fire. I love that.
Yeah.
And it's just a passion for the art that's like telling people the truth as good as they can, but some people have trouble with it. So there'd be all sorts of stuff
I
going
know.
on. But I go, he's a teacher. And it just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like your medicine.
You got to do his class. You have to go and do some classes with him.
Shadow,
Yeah, but to do that nowadays, it's very difficult because he won't just do that. You have to do his style of yoga. You have to do the foundation before he'll take you on to classes, because I can see before he had too many problems. And I learned off that as well. That's what I taught you, foundation stuff.
Yeah.
So that when you go to do the other stuff, you go, I know, it's easy for him to teach. You're not having to undo a lot of the other stuff. You've already undone that.
Okay, I'm so appreciative. I mean, I met Peter a week ago tomorrow. It feels like a year. Oh my God, a week ago tomorrow, and what I've got in my hot little hand and what's been converted into muscle memory is going to take me to the next level. And the next level is just simply birthing a better version of who I am right now, and just going with that, because I'm not getting enlightened anytime soon, Pete. So just,
It comes.
just doing my best. Okay, bye. Say bye.
Bye.